Hi, everyone. Welcome to Perennia's fourth webinar of the Preparing for Retail Success series, provided to you by our Agri-Food Funding Program. Today's topic will be branding strategy planning pre-product development. My name is Emily Page, and I'm a food scientist with Perennia Food and Agriculture. We offer a wide array of services to support Nova Scotia's agriculture and seafood sectors, such as food safety, agricultural extension, mobile wine bottling, and analytical testing of cannabis, foods, and beverages. At the Perennia Food and Beverage Innovation Center, we work with clients on product development, process improvement, nutritional labeling, and shelf life determination. Our guest presenter today is Daryl Monroe of Balance Creative. Darrell and the Balance Creative team work with companies to develop branding strategies. They have worked with many food companies in Atlantic Canada, creating successful brands and improving their bottom line. Darrell is also currently a board member and part of the senior executive team at the Atlantic Food and Beverage Processors Association. Lastly, just a quick Zoom housekeeping notes. If you have a question during the session, please use the Q&A button, which is located at the bottom of your Zoom window. And you can submit questions at any time. We'll be answering them throughout the session. So please engage with us. We're happy to have a conversation. And with that, I will pass it to you, Daryl.
Thanks, Emily. Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. Thanks for spending your lunch with us. So today, Emily and I were just talking about sort of the content for this presentation. And just a couple of things from our perspective here too, is like, what Emily said is like, I encourage Q&A. I find the weirdest thing about these webinars is the fact that you're talking to yourself, listening to yourself, and it's kind of, you get to a point where it's like, you know, has anybody gone to sleep? Has anybody kind of, you know, have a question? So I would highly encourage you to use the chat window. If you want me to elaborate on a point, or there's something that you want a little more insight in, then I would encourage you to do that as we go along. I'm going to keep it kind of light, and there's a little bit of fun here. There's not a lot of charts and graphs and stuff. It's pretty basic stuff. And like Emily said, I mean, we work a lot. The primary clientele that we deal with are food companies here in Atlantic Canada. We've had some experience working in other parts of the world for other food companies. And this idea of, having a proper strategy and a plan prior to, to your product development is key to your success. We're going to talk some examples of some of the things that we worked on, or that I've worked on, or our team has worked on, that have gone, really well. There's been some other things that we've done for products that have not done that well. It's a bit of a gamble, I'll say. It's something that you need to do your homework beforehand, and you need to be really honest with yourself on kind of, what it is that you're planning to do as far as products and your business development. So in this session, we're going to discuss the steps for building a solid and insightful plan prior to developing your value-added food product. Now, I'm assuming, again, I don't know, I can't see who's out there. I don't know what your story is. I don't really understand your particular business. And, have you developed new products in the past? What's your knowledge of sort of, the 4 Ps of marketing? I'm kind of shooting in the dark here. So we're going to, again, keep it light and keep it sort of fun and fresh. We're going to talk about market research. We're going to talk about in-person market checks, meaning like going to the actual grocery store, looking at competitor insights, and how you can potentially map and monitor trends, which I think is, the trends are something that we really need to keep an eye on here, because, I mean, new products and the way that we eat, and Emily and I were just chatting before everybody came into the room, is, people are eating differently because of COVID. Like, we're spending a lot more time at home, preparing meals, and just thinking about, you've got more time on your hands as opposed to driving back and forth to the office. You could be preparing your, what you're having for supper at lunchtime had you not been with us here today. So we won't talk about that. All right. So We'll start on not to start on a negative note, but reality of it is that Nielsen says that 85% of new consumer packaged goods fail. That's a kind of a little bit of a downer, but the reality of it is that you've got to have everything figured out before you're actually ready to go with the launch of a new product. There's I think I read a statistic the other day that the average grocery store has between 30 and 40,000 products in it, like including all of the different departments. So there's a lot of competition out there. And what makes you different and what makes you better and what makes, what your strategy is can really, be beneficial in kind of how you're going to succeed or fail with this. So this was a quote that I liked, that just kind of sums it up. So one of the biggest problems that retailers encounter is the lack of preparation. Companies are so focused on designing and manufacturing new products that they forget, the hard work of getting ready to market them until it's too late in the game. So what I guess, the takeaway on that is that, if you've got an idea for a new product, but you don't have a plan of how you're going to roll it out and launch it and support it, once even if you're fortunate enough to get it listed on the grocery shelf, how are you going to follow that up? And what's your plan to work with a retailer to promote it? Are you going to be on coupon? Are you going to be part of their loyalty program? Like, you need to think about a lot of these things before you actually start down this road. So let's start at the beginning. The name of the session is branding strategy. So I just like to, again, this is where I wish I could turn on the microphone for everybody and you could all put up your hands, but what's a brand? Okay. And there's that dead cone of silence that I can't hear what you're saying, but reality of it is that a brand is more than just your logo. It's more than just, the pretty package or the color of your typeface that you use on your packaging. Wikipedia defines it as a brand is a name, term, design, symbol, or any other feature that identifies one seller's good or service as distinct from other sellers. Brands are used in business, marketing, and advertising for recognition, and importantly, to create and store value for the objective identified. So that's kind of a long-winded definition. I have a simpler definition. For me, a brand has always been about a promise. And the promise is that if I'm in a particular sector and my product is going to deliver on a number of different levels, the language that I'm using around my brand, is it friendly? Is it aggressive? Is it, what's the personality? It's like a person. So it's a promise that whatever product you buy from me as a manufacturer or a processor, that all of the products that you're going to get from me, I promise are going to be to a certain level. So it's every touch point that a consumer or a customer, meaning, like a retailer, that they interact with your brand. So it's about the experience. It's, and it should be consistent. I mean, if you think of Apple as an example, the Apple brand has been around for, since the early 80s, and we just look to them to be the innovator in technology. So, their brand promises that, always on top of innovation and always good quality products that, the consumers are going to embrace. If you have questions, Emily, I see there's been a couple of things flashing on the screen. I wasn't sure if that was me or.
There's a couple of comments in here for conversations. So Crystal has said, a brand is anything identifying of your company. And we have another comment from Cynthia who added on that it encompasses the culture of your business as well.
Nice. Beautiful. Both are absolutely correct. And I think we still get clients and customers that they want us to develop what they call a brand, but what they mean is a logo. So, a logo is only really what is sort of the identifier. Again, to use the apple example, you know, you get the little apple with the bite out of it. That symbolizes the brand, but that's the logo. And again, again, not knowing who's in the audience, and just, again, if I'm talking above your head or below you, I apologize, but it's tough in these situations to kind of gauge the room. But you're absolutely right, both of you. Thank you. All right. So the power of your brand. Okay. So your brand is your pathway to the growth of your business, basically. Your branding should be consistent, along with your packaging, your colors, your typography, and your brand voice. And what I mean by brand voice is the language or the tone that you take with your customers. Again, you see some brands out there that are very friendly and kind of whimsical. They've got a really fun flavor to them, and you kind of gravitate them just because they have a, you know, the romance text on the back of a bag or a package, maybe just written in a way that's just like, it's like a conversation, or it's friendly and folksy. And then there's other brands that are very technology, and they want to be more of a authoritative and a little more forceful. But with a common look and feel to all your communications, your brand should be your pathway to growing your business and your brand awareness, and ultimately, you know, here, your success. So let's do a little role playing thing here. So what's your product? Okay. So I'm going to use a silly example. And again, this is not meant to be disrespectful in any way, but I just wanted to make a point, and you'll see where I'm going with this. So I like to make chocolate chip cookies. Okay. I love making them. I'm really, you know, a lot of people rave about how good they are and that maybe I should sell them. Oh, well, sounds easy enough, you know, like, you know, we can sell cookies and we'll probably make a fortune. We use real chocolate chips, the finest of ingredients, and my home kitchen is the perfect place to start producing them. It can't fail. Like, you know, like chocolate chips, who doesn't love them, right? Chocolate chip cookies. So last weekend, we baked almost 6 dozen cookies. I think we're ready to go. So I went to the grocery store to pick up the ingredients just for fun. I walked down the cookie aisle. Well, to my astonishment, I found these. What? Somebody else is selling cookies? Well, but ours are much more chewy and homemade. What? Oh, can't be. But ours are made with my grandmother's secret recipe. What? Grandma sold me out. And as I walked down a little further down the aisle, I noticed that everybody seemed to be making chocolate chip cookies. Elves are making cookies. The president is making cookies. I don't know if that was Trump or Biden, but we'll just leave it at that. And then even Lenny and Larry, what are you kidding me? These are the guys I play poker with on Thursday night. They're making cookies now. And these cookies have as much not in them as they do have in them. So they've got, you know, there's no dairy, there's no egg, there's no soya, there's no GMO, they're vegan. No. So you get 4 no's. I don't know. They got like, just doesn't make any sense. So then then there was even this guy at the grocery store. I found him hiding in the refrigerated section. He didn't think I could find him. And he's got, you know, you bake it yourself at home. I think our cookie has crumbled. I think we're going to have to look for another opportunity in another sector. So start with a great idea. Okay, let's sort of back it out. And again, I don't know if you found that amusing or funny or whatever. I just thought it would lighten the air. But again, I can't see you, so I don't know what you're saying. You're probably saying, "Oh my God, this guy's lost his mind," possibly. Okay, let's start with a great idea. So all new products and great businesses start with a great idea. There are thousands of new product ideas out there. You just need to figure out which one is right for you and for your business. Any questions, Emily?
Nope, not right now.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about a little personal example that we had the privilege of and still are working with today. So back in late 2008, I got a call from a friend of mine. He just moved his family back to Nova Scotia from Montreal and was interested in starting a business. He had an idea to create a product that he and his wife Barb used to make for friends and company that always got rave reviews. People loved this product. Okay, so it was something that they would make at home. They had their secret recipe on kind of how they were going to make this product, and yeah, so they thought, well, this could be an interesting idea. The idea was to create an innovative food product that was innovative in the seafood category, was healthy and good for you, was convenient and eliminated the consumer having to handle the product, and used a cooking method that was not used for seafood items. Okay, anybody know who I'm talking about? I'll wait. I know there's a couple of you out there because I know a couple of you who you are, and you know who this is. It was salmon on a cedar plank. This is Doug Park has been a friend of mine for years. So Doug came from the McCain world. McCain was a client of ours for many, many, many years, back when I was with an agency in New Brunswick, and then when I started on my own. So Doug had the insight, and his father was part of the business. His late father, who just recently passed away, was part of the business as well when they started the Cedar Bay Grilling Company here in Blandford in Nova Scotia. So Doug and Arnold both had worked at McCain for many, many years. They had seen and been part of many new product launches during their time with McCain. And I remember Arnold saying to me that, part of the mentality or the strategy for the marketing department at McCain was they were in the new product development business. That's basically that was one of their things that they actually, all the brand managers who worked under Arnold, he was the CEO, were tasked I think it was every second week, they'd have to come to a meeting, and it was called the innovation meeting. So you'd have to come with new products that you had either seen or tried or heard of, and they would see if this would be something that would fit in with the product mix with McCain. So again, I can't see the show of hands, but does anybody remember McCain water? Yeah, there was McCain water. Does anybody remember McCain waffles? Yeah, there was McCain waffles. Yogurt? Yeah, they ventured down the road of trying to get into the yogurt business. Now, somebody out there must remember McCain Pasta Magic, okay? So they were doing pasta with, you came in the frozen section, you had the sauce that you put on it, and we would be having it for your lunch. So McCain had the benefit of having an R&D department. They had on-staff folks who could actually, like a development kitchen, where you have the luxury here with Emily and her folks at Perennia to help you develop some of these products. But with McCain, it was always, they would spend the money to develop the packaging. They would get the listing. They would put it into the retailers' stores. And sometimes the products would win, and sometimes the products would lose, and they just slowly disappear. So the reason I bring up the McCain example is because with Doug and Arnold, they had the idea of the salmon on the cedar plank, but there was still some things that needed to be worked through. So, for example, how are you going to sell these? Would you sell them? Excuse me. Would you sell them refrigerated, or would you sell them frozen? How are you going to package it so that people would know that it was going to on the actual plank? Because I think that most of the people that would see this would not know that it's on the cedar plank itself. What flavors are you going to have? How are you going to, again, are you going to ship it fresh, or are you going to ship it frozen? What's the cost of the raw materials? Cedar trees or red cedar trees don't grow naturally, or they're not indigenous to here in Atlantic Canada. So you're going to have to buy the red cedar planks from somewhere other than here. And where are you going to get your salmon from? The other thing is, where are you going to make this? you can't make these in your kitchen at home. You need a facility that's actually going to be, that's going to have to be approved, like HACCP approved. It's going to have to be, you're going to need a staff. So again, a great idea, but there's a lot of steps to bringing this to market. So this is what the newest or the latest package looks like for the cedar plank salmon. And we could have called it salmon magic, or we could have called it cedar, whatever you wanted to, whatever you could, pick a name. You could call it whatever you wanted to. But I think it was really important. We landed on this idea, and again, this was a round table with Arnold and Doug and a couple of our folks, just to basically call it what it was. It's cedar planked Atlantic salmon. So basically explains exactly what it is. There's no guesswork on behalf of a consumer who's looking at the package saying, what is that? I don't understand what that is. So I think part of when you get to the point where you're ready to launch your product, remember, you've been close to it. You understand kind of what the methodology and the planning and all of the things that have gone into it. But a consumer seeing this for the first time is going to be like, what is that? Even right down to, the name of the company. When they named the company, we threw a bunch of different names on the floor. And we went with Cedar Bay because we knew that was our innovation. That, again, nobody had ever used the barbecue or a grill to do anything more than just put it in 1950s tinfoil, put it on the barbecue. My mother used to do that when we were kids. So this was a true innovation. And what we were looking at here was creating a category for in the seafood department that nobody had ever seen before. So the end result was we got a listing with Sobeys. They tried us on. They thought it was an interesting idea. And lo and behold, we won, or I didn't say we, I guess we've been part of the team now for over 12 years, but they won the best new retail product in 2010 at the International Boston Seafood Show. They've won 3 Canadian Grand Prix awards. I was actually with Barb and Doug and Arnold when we won these, and they got called to the podium 3 times to pick up these Grand Prix awards. So everyone was just floored. So they've won Export Achievement Awards. So this has really been a nice success story here in Atlantic Canada, and again, all from something as simple as salmon on a cedar plank. So we've diversified the line. There are there's a number of different flavors that we're using now for the planks. Now you'll notice too that these packages are only English only, and the reason I wanted to put that in there is because here in Atlantic Canada we have a short grilling season. We have a season that we still use our barbecue here at our home in the wintertime, but a lot of people just put them in the garage and they don't come out until spring. So the opportunity here to grow this product line into the US and into some other parts of the world that had a longer season where you could actually use the grill and use the product and enjoy the product, in other parts of the world where they get a little more sunshine and less snow than we do. So they've innovated over the years. They've done like the whole plank, or the larger plank with the full salmon fillet on top. And this flavor here, the applewood with orange and ginger, was the Grand Prix winner, and it was the Boston Seafood Show winner as well. If you haven't tried this product, I highly encourage you to do that. It's delicious, and it's again an innovation that just was one of those things that just came out of something that somebody was making, in their home, and they decided they could scale this. We've also developed, other products. We've got burgers. We ventured into other types of species of fish or seafood, but it always comes back to the core plan. Okay. So even though they diversified the product line, but we always stuck to the strategy. Okay. Innovative within the seafood category, was healthy and good for you, and was convenient and eliminated the consumer having to handle the product. So basically you take it out of the freezer, you thaw it out, you zip the end of the bag, put it on the grill, and it's the same strategy for every product that's in the Cedar Bay lineup of products. So let's start with the basics. We need to find out what's your plan. If your goal is to grow your business and to create a new product category, then you need a plan. Because a goal without a plan is just a wish. It's like an idea. When there's an idea, there's another idea. They're all over the place, and you just need to focus and develop the plan. So it's like when you started your business, you needed a plan on how you were going to actually make this thing fly. So starting, the roadmap to where you're going is really the only way that you're going to know if you succeeded on where you wanted to get. So you need a plan for developing your new product, and it should include a lot of the same elements as what a business plan has. Okay. I was putting this presentation together last week or on the weekend. And my wife walked by my screen. She said, "What's SWOT?" And I laughed. I said, "It's not SWOT, it's SWAT." And she said, "Well, what's SWAT?" I said, it's not not the police. It's not the the guys that, come in and with the bulletproof vests and stuff. It's a pretty basic marketing term. And it's really a great place to look at what your business and what potentially your new product is going to be. So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay. So this is pretty, again, I didn't want to get into the whole marketing jargon thing too deeply, but I think you'll understand kind of what I'm talking about here. So again, I don't know if you folks have heard of this before, but it's a pretty basic marketing tool that we use to kind of analyze whether a business or a brand or a product has legs to be able to, to fly in the world of retail or food service, food products. So strengths. Your strengths are obviously things that your organization does particularly well, or in a way distinguishes you from your competitors, okay? Think about the advantages your organization and your new product idea has over other organizations and the competition in the market that you're attempting to penetrate. Your strengths are an integral part of your organization, so think about what makes it tick. What do you or your product have that makes it better than anybody else? What values, meaning the values of who you are, what do you have? Do you have a lot of companies now, they'll do nothing but organic products, or they have a certain credo that they want to follow, and sort of a personality. Remember we talked about what your brand is? It's like, what is that thing that makes you unique, and is that a strength in your opinion? What does make you unique? Are you a low cost provider? Are you do you have resources at your disposal that if you needed them, you can bring them in? Like if you expand your product line and you need more labor to bring them in, is that something that's easy for you to do? You need to identify and analyze your organization's, okay, here we go, another marketing term, but USP, unique selling proposition. Like, what is it again that makes you better, stronger, faster, or different than some of the competitors that are out there doing something that might be similar to what you're doing? You need to turn the perspective around and ask yourself what your competitors might see as your strength, and things that you live in your world, I live in my world. Like, I see things in my way, you see things in your way. But you need to be honest with yourself, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we kind of get into this deeper. But just be honest with yourself, don't lie to yourself, and be true to what your brand is, what your beliefs are as a company, and what you think your opportunity in the marketplace to differentiate yourself from your competitors. Weaknesses. Be honest. This is a real look in the mirror. You really need to be honest with things that you again, if you're having labor issues or you just don't have time to develop new products. You're too busy developing and making the orders that you've got now. You don't have, a marketing group or people in your marketing department, or you may not even have a marketing department that can help you with new product development. So that it's not that that's a weakness, but it's just something that you need to, again, look in the mirror and say, it's like when you need, after Christmas is like, well, geez, gain 5 pounds over the holidays. I need to, be honest with myself. I need to either go on a diet or head to the gym. It's not a weakness. It's just a reality. And it's just something that we all need to be real with ourselves. So it's better to be real with yourself now than it is to get further down the road and figure out that, you had a great idea, but you didn't have the capacity to be able to produce the product or to actually follow through and promote it and to, to make it a success because you just didn't have enough time to be able to do that. Think about ways you can improve and the sort of, practices and different things that you do that you might want to avoid. Once again, like imagine or find out how people in your market see you. Do they notice weakness that you tend to be blind for? Take time to examine and really kind of do some soul searching. And what are you lacking? Opportunities. So this is a strange one because the next, we talked about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. An opportunity can be a threat sometimes, and a threat can be an opportunity. And what I mean by that is, I'll explain in a second, but basically opportunities are, again, Doug and Arnold saw the opportunity that nobody was innovating in the seafood category. This was a flat line, that there really wasn't much innovation. This was 12 years ago, but nobody really addressed those 3 or 4 key points that we wanted to cover. Again, not touching the fish, convenience, and just something that's new in that category. So opportunities come to you in the weirdest way. They're like, sometimes you'll wake up in the middle of the night and you'll have a dream about something, and it'll be like, that could be an interesting opportunity for our business. They usually arise from situations outside your organization and require an eye for what might happen in the future. Being able to spot and exploit opportunities can make a huge difference in your organization's ability to compete and take the lead. So COVID, perfect example of an opportunity, okay? It was also a threat. Like I said before, like there was opportunity and threat. COVID was a huge opportunity for some businesses. COVID was the death of some people's business. It was just like, that was the end of them, having to pivot and to kind of go in a different direction. If you look at different companies like HelloFresh and Good Food, like the meal box companies that you get on your doorstep, because we're spending now so much time at home, their business has really shot through the roof. Actually, a lot of people are ordering online. It eliminates you from having to go to the grocery store. So again, when a year ago, when this pandemic hit, they could have looked at it and said, this is going to be a huge threat to our business. It's actually kind of interesting how it sort of played out, because it created a huge opportunity. They now have a larger database of people that they're delivering food to. Video game companies, another example of an opportunity. If you were selling Nintendos and PS5s, you're probably doing okay. Think about, PPE and cleaning supplies. Think about the people who make Clorox wipes and sanitizers and things like that. There were a couple of companies here in Atlantic, Canada, that distilleries, they pivoted and they went with the opportunity to create hand sanitizers out of some of their beverage alcohol products. Really smart, very smart. Companies like Peloton, like the bikes that you get on and they have the video screen. Again, people aren't going to the gym. Well, they are starting to go back here, but in other parts of the world, people are spending more time at home. They want to lose a few pounds. Peloton, it's the sort of the way of the exercising future. And Wayfair, same thing. If your wife's anything like mine, there's usually an Amazon package or a Wayfair package coming in, a couple times a week here. So it's it's all good. So think about opportunities you can spot immediately. They don't need to be game changers, but even small advantages can increase your organization's competitive. And what interesting marketing trends you're aware of, whether they're small or large or whatever they are. Threats. Threats are anything that can impact your business negatively from the outside. So, supply chain problems, shifts in your market requirements of like regulatory stuff that you need to, like we know that there's been some changes with regard to regulatory things because of, you can't, when you go into a store, you're not supposed to handle anything that you're not going to be taking home. So the government's working on things like that. Again, COVID was a huge threat to the restaurant industry. Some had to close. It's been a real downer on kind of what some friends of mine that own restaurants, and it's been a tough thing. I mean, they've tried to do take home or take out from their meals, but it's been tough. Always consider what your competitors are doing and whether you should be changing your organization's emphasis to meet the challenges. But remember that they're doing what they're doing and they see as a threat may not be something you see as a threat. So you don't want to copy your competitors or the people that are in the same space as you. Look for your own way. Like look for your own opportunities and threats, and try and navigate through the pylons and one step at a time. We'll get to that part in a minute as well. So you need to define your target market. Who's going to buy your product? Again, if you've got something that you're thinking about developing, a little shameless plug here for the folks at Perennia, but talk to them early. Like if you have a contact with Emily or some of the folks at Perennia, talk to them about some of the successes, and they can give you some counsel and some direction on where you like a target market that you may not even be thinking about. I think it's important to talk to a lot of people and get people's perspective on kind of where you want to focus and where you want to sell. You need to understand what the customer's problem are and how your product is going to solve it. Create a mental picture of who would be buying your product. Again, if you're buying something that's organic or something that has gluten-free, like think about the people that are going to buy that product, and you need to build your plan and your strategy for how you're going to support it to target those people, as opposed to just in the olden days, not the olden days, but like in older days, television was a great medium for using, to use the McCain example again. They were the largest purchaser of media in Canada. McCain bought more media than any other company for television. I mean, there wasn't, you'd go through you'd watch a half-hour program and there would be 4 McCain ads. Well, that was on purpose because they were trying to appeal to the demographic of who's watching that particular show or product. So they knew kind of where you were going to, what shows you might potentially be going to watch. Nowadays, with the internet and phones and the opportunity to really target, I mean, we do a lot of campaigns now where we'll do a Facebook, what they call geo-targeting, where it's basically we can target different neighborhoods to, you all get these. I mean, like it's something will appear in your feed. Like I was looking at golf clubs the other day, and automatically things start coming to me that everything is reminding me of golf. And it's like, how does this happen? Well, the algorithms and the fact that Big Brother is watching you is actually true. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this world. Again, they're not gonna, it's not gonna harm you in any way, but they like your choices, what you like on Facebook, the different things that you interact with, all create a profile of who you are and how you're perceived and what target market you fit into. I got a quote here from Steve Jobs. He said, customers don't know what they want until you show them. Okay. And another good one here, he says, you can't ask customers what they want and then try to give them that. By the time you get it built, they'll want something new. And that's kind of true. I mean, I think part of the knowing who you're talking to, again, with a product mix that makes sense or a product that makes sense, and part of your strategy developing and talking to, how you're going to communicate with them needs to be part of the mix here. Research. Do your own research. If we reference the cookie example that the silly one at the beginning, I had a great idea, or what I thought was a great idea. I had no research to back up my decision to make chocolate chip cookies. Ask people other than your family and your friends, because they're already on your side. They're going to support you no matter what you do because they love you. But I think you need to ask yourself, who's going to buy this product? Why would they buy this product? And you need to be honest with yourself. The internet has given us so many tools that are at our disposal that are basically free that you can use to do research. So, for example, there's SurveyMonkey. We use this to create surveys with different consumer groups. So, with the free versions, you get 10 questions. You can have 100 respondents. There's 15 types of questions you can ask on them. You can't export your data is the only thing with that. So, the paid version, which is about $26 a month, I think that's US. You get more questions, more respondents, and other features. So that's one that's very common out there. You may have seen people who send you in a newsletter, they'll send you a SurveyMonkey. There's Sogo Survey, which is another one. It's free. You can have unlimited surveys. You can have unlimited questions. You have the ability to embed surveys into email and web pages. I'm no expert on that, so you'd have to kind of check the site. You're also, if you're a free user and you need support, there's a 24 hour, 7-day-a-week email customer service line you can communicate with them. So you might want to write that one down as well. And the other one is Google Forms, which is, again, everything is Google. There's Google Maps, there's Google Calendar, there's Google everything, okay? Google Forms has unlimited surveys. You can have unlimited respondents. The survey answers and data are automatically collected in a Google spreadsheet. There's lots of different theme options. You can add your own logo. You can add images or videos, and you can embed the survey into your own website or an email as well. So the other thing is with this is it's important to know your numbers. Okay. So I love this one too. So the 2-inch margins on his business plan are great, but you need to know your numbers. And I think bringing it back to the Cedar Bay example, because of Doug and Arnold's experience with the McCain world, that was one of the things they were always pushed on, is you gotta know your numbers. I mean, even if you watch Shark Tank or what's the other one, Dragon's Den, that's the first question they'll ask you. It's like, what are your numbers? You have to know, what your profit is, what your labor, what your shipping. You've got to have a handle on this. Otherwise, things can get out of hand really quickly. It's pretty basic stuff, more sales, more margin, keep your costs low, pretty basic stuff, but it's super important. Listing fees. So let's say you're going to have a product listed with a retailer. Depending on which category you're in or you want to get into the grocery store, there's going to be listing fees. There are some exceptions, and I would talk to your category manager about kind of where you see that and how that fits with your world. Again, whether you're doing produce, whether you're doing seafood, whether you're doing grocery items, it's basically, you pay a fee to be on their shelf. And I think, again, not knowing who you are or what your experience has been, this can be thousands of dollars per SKU. So think about that. Also think about your opportunity here to create something that you could sell just online. we have a lot of clients that basically have their own online store. And I think Peter Chapman talked about this last week with Shopify and some of the other platforms that are available that you can set up through your website, that make it so that you're not having to pay listing fees to some of these retailers. And now, again, with COVID, it's a lot of people are ordering things online. Some things are available from the grocery side of things or the food side of things, but it's an option. And again, keeping an eye on your costs and monitoring where you are with your profitability is key. Go to the store. Determine where you think your product may be merchandised in the store. It's really important. And again, Peter Chapman's talked about this many times. Is where are you going to be in the store? Are you going to be natural value? Are you going to be in grocery? Are you going to be seafood? Are you going to be in produce? Like, part of differentiating yourself from your competitors is being maybe in a different part of the store, so that it's like, you see sometimes now you'll see produce in the produce department, you'll see things that aren't necessarily produce. They're kind of produce related, but you notice them more because they're just a little bit out of context or where you normally would see them. What about different channels altogether? What about food service? Maybe that's an avenue for you here. There's, it doesn't, like, the be all and end all is not, retail grocery. It could be a drugstore. It could be a health food store. It could be a pet food store. Like, again, I don't know what your products are, but look at different channels and look for other opportunities that you may not have thought of. That just, again, looking in the mirror and saying, like, put yourself in the consumer's shoes. That's always the best test for this stuff. Step out of yourself and look at it and say, would I buy this product? What would I pay for this product? Why, how often would I buy this product? That's another thing. Frequency is a big thing that you want to cover, that you want to think about. Like, you want people buying your product on a regular basis, like bread and milk and eggs and things like that are sort of staples. Is that something that you can kind of focus on? Because again, it's like, when COVID hit, everyone was going out to buy toilet tissue. It's just, I don't know why, but it was one of those things. But that's something you need all the time. Do competitive research. Try your competitive product. Like, if you've got someone that is doing a great job in a category that you want to be in, you got to try their product. You should, get on their email list or get some insight as to who they are, where they're manufactured, do some numbers and sort of figure out, like, what it's costing them to actually make it, and then what their retail price is. Competitive research can be a real game changer, because if you know what your competitors are doing, it will give you some insights into how you might want to do things better. So I was going to talk a little bit about demographics and psychographics. So demographics are obviously, like how old they are, how much money they have, how much do they want to spend, where they live. Psychographics are more of psychological characteristics and traits. So their values, their desires. Again, like, if you come back to something that you have a passion for and you feel that your product is different because it's grown on the south side of a mountain with the sun coming up, and it's just like the birds are chirping. And I don't know what your story is. I don't know who you are or kind of what you're doing, but think about demographics and psychographics. Who's buying your product and where are these people? Think about geographic and ethnic preferences. Like, there's all kinds of different opportunities for products that may not be at your local grocery store, but there may be an opportunity for you in other countries. Like, look for opportunities for export. It's a big world out there. It's yours to kind of do. We have some very unique and indigenous type products here, meaning that they're grown here. They're, like lobster and some of the seafood things that we have at our disposal. are not so readily available in other parts of the world? Is there something that we could be marketing or selling that we have here that is not maybe available in other parts of the world? Blueberries, lobster, things like that, like things that are that we do a really good job with. Look for opportunities to sell them outside the region. Look at trends, analyze them, look at fads and niches and things like that. Like a lot of these things are kind of, they're the treat of the week, I call them. But look for opportunities that fit with what you have a passion for. Look for things, again, like COVID has kind of forced us to kind of look in the mirror a little bit. And again, there'll be some things like, who would have thought a year ago that everyone will be wearing masks, okay? You used to see the occasional person wearing them, but like, again, it's just like, and it's not a trend or a fad, it's just the harsh reality of living in a pandemic. But the reality of it is things change, and they change very quickly. And I think we need to make sure that whatever we're doing or products we're developing need to adapt to these changing trends, fads, niches, and just be prepared to be resilient. So I'm getting near the end, almost done. So I just wanted to cover off again, more marketing jargon, but basically the four P's of marketing are your product, your price, the place, and your promotion. So if you look at your target market, which is right here in the center, you've got advertising, public relations, like all of these things, digital marketing, direct marketing, guerrilla marketing, which is basically, when we could do sampling of your product. But think about this, the promotion mix, and use this as sort of again, I think Emily's going to share this presentation. And again, if anybody has any questions about any of this stuff, I'm more than happy to take an offline call or a conversation about it. There's traditional media, there's advertising, radio, direct mail, billboard, and then there's all this little, Pinterest and Google and Instagram and Facebook. Like, it's like the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want to promote to whoever you want to. But again, I always bring it back to, you need the plan. All right. Do your homework, like analyze who it is that you are, what you're comfortable with selling, what your product is, looking at trends, do your research, plan for how you're going to do this. And I know we've covered a lot in a very short period of time here, but the reality of it is, not that anybody likes eating elephants, but it's just one step at a time. It's just one little bit at a time to kind of get to a point where, you've got enough research, you've got a product that you feel that you're comfortable with. Talk to the folks at Perennia, and they can help you to sort of take it to the next step. The other thing that we've got at our disposal, again, 15, 20 years ago, when I was starting in this business, we did not have Google and the World Wide Web to be able to, as a resource. I remember talking to somebody the other day about, remember when your parents bought the set of Britannica, the encyclopedias, and they were, they paid $1,000 for them. We don't do that anymore. We have all of this at our disposal. It's like, whatever you can think of, it's all online. Go check it out. Use these tools to your advantage. There's lots of interesting stuff out there, as I'm sure you all know. And last thing I'll leave you with is, see it for what it is, not for what you want it to be. Because if you don't have a plan and you don't know where you're going with your product or your business, it may not end well. Look in the mirror and be honest with yourself and true to your brand. Thank you.
Thanks, Daryl. Quickly on the screen here is, we have the Minister of Agricultural's digital series this year. So that is usually the conference. It's now moving digital, so there's 5 sessions there. I will say, if you do have a question, we still have a few minutes, please use the Q&A button, and Daryl and I will get to those.
Sure.
There's one comment in here that I really wanted to share in the chat. It's a quote that I love as well. And someone shared they also like the quote from Henry Ford, that is, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Brilliant. Love it.
I love that quote.
Very nice.
So we have one question here, Daryl, and it's, what do you think of the people who have a following? I forget the trendy name for them. I'm not sure what.
Influencers.
Influencers, yes.
Influencers are amazing people. They have followings that, again, I mean, my gray hair is showing a little bit. Emily's not so much, but this is a different world, and it's a different world from the perspective of influencers rule, and they have a lot of influence on especially millennials and how they what they think about your product. My daughter is 23, and you know, they live on their phones. Like, this thing is more than just a phone. Actually, I'm not even sure that they understand that it really is a phone. They use it for everything else, but this is a very powerful tool. And if you can tap into an influencer network, and it's interesting too, if you've got a category that you're interested in and that you want to follow it and just kind of watch and just sort of see what people are saying about it. Influencers are basically people who, well, it's an obvious thing, but influence it's more, I think, younger folks. It's more millennials and people that have more of a grasp on kind of this e-world. So food bloggers, influencers, people that are going to using third parties for, like, or people that are talking nicely about your product as opposed to you telling them how great it is a huge opportunity, and I highly encourage that.
Thanks. I'm just gonna get you to go to the next slide there, Daryl, so people can have our.
Sure.
Perfect. So this was the 4th of an 8-part series. I've shared some links in the chat, which one is to our YouTube playlist, which we are recording all of these sessions, so you can catch up on them in there. Our session next Wednesday is with Gary Morton on Pricing for Profit Part 2. So that's also in the chat. And then Daryl will also be back with us on March 10th, and that's going to be focused on branding strategy at your product launch. So I don't know, Daryl, you want to put a little information on what that will be about?
Well, it's really the continuation of what we talked about today, is getting, you know, having the conversations with the folks at Perennia just before you're ready to develop your product. And then I think, you know, we'll cover some of the same ground here, but we'll talk about the 4 P's of marketing. Like, how are you going to promote, you know, if you get a listing, like, how are you going to promote it? Because you can't just throw it out to the retailers and, you know, hope it's like sending a child out into the world and they got to fend for themselves. Well, they need some tools to be able to kind of, you know, help themselves along, and you have to help them along as well. So we'll cover off. There'll be a fair bit of information in that one as well, and I think a lot of that will pertain to social media stuff. So
awesome. We're almost 1 o'clock here, so if you have to leave, we thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll see you again throughout the series. There's a question here, Daryl. It's a bit long, so give me a second. But through marketing research, look for opportunities to identify and utilize underpriced attention. If an influencer has a following that is consistent with your target market, the organic reach might be more effective than other streams, such as local newspaper or radio station. So it's a bit more of a comment than a question there.
That's right. That's a great comment. And again, don't underestimate the power of social media. Again, it's a huge opportunity. You know, you read case studies all the time about this, where, you know, a product was either made or destroyed through social media, and it can happen very easily, because once some of these people get a hold and they're talking to the people that you want to talk to. And I think that, you know, just Google, you know, food influencers or follow. It's a good idea to actually follow this stuff and actually, you know, get in touch with some of these influencer people. A lot of times they'll charge you if you send them a product sample, they will charge you to either develop a recipe or to talk nicely about your product. It's basically like, you know, if you're hiring someone to promote your product on your behalf, but it can be very beneficial. And, you know, if you look at it from a cost per click perspective, it's kind of like it's probably sometimes a a cheap way to go about doing that. So now I highly encourage that. You know, look up what an influencer is, start following them, and Instagram is probably the best place to you know, to kind of keep up with that stuff.
I agree. Yeah, there's a couple here in Nova Scotia that I follow as well, and I've seen, like you said, they'll get food products sent to them and then review it online.
Usually it's for a fee. That's usually how it works, is they won't do it for nothing. Some of them will. If they, you know, if you have a friend of a friend who's an influencer, they'll sometimes cut you a deal. But I mean, that people make money at this, and actually they make a very good living, you know, being influencers, because people listen to what they say and they trust their opinions about things.
I agree. There's one question there just about wanting to revisit the information, and that would be through our YouTube playlist. So we post the recording of the presentation. So if you wanted to rewatch this or share it with somebody, that would be through our YouTube channel. And there's no other questions that have come in. So that would be the end of today's session, and hopefully we'll see you again. Daryl and I's contact information on the screen. Feel free to get in contact with either of us. Anything about the webinars or the series themselves, please reach out to me. And if you have any questions on today's content, please feel free to get in contact with Darrell.
Super. Thank you for the opportunity, Emily, and thank you everybody who tuned in. And I love this stuff. So let's if I can help in any way, by all means, contact me. All right.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.